Welcome in, everyone. This is Sean with MTG808 Jr., and today I'm joined by Mike and Eric.
Hello, hello.
And we are going to recap our very first Youth Standard Pauper tournament with Throne of Eldraine cards. It was a very exciting tournament.
Oh, definitely.
I was not there, but you guys held down the fort, ran a smooth tournament, and we have our top 4 decks that we're going to look at today. Before we jump into that, though, we just want to make sure everyone knows about our Youth Championship Scholarship Tournament. This is Scholarship Tournament number 4.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Saturday, December 14th over at Dirtle Zone in IAEA. The usual $750 in scholarship prizes, $500 to first, $250 to second, $5 to enter, and the format is Standard Pauper with the most recent set being Throne of Eldraine, so the exact same format that we are covering today. So, if you want to get an edge in this tournament, you should start coming to our tournaments and definitely start looking at the decks that are doing well. So you are in the right place. Speaking of upcoming events, Mike, you want to...
All right, so our next one is this Saturday at Minikyu Mililani. Doors open at 10, tournament starts at 10:30. Entry fee is $1. And the next one after that is... we're back at the Planet on November 9th. Doors open at 1, tournament starts at 1:30. We are still trying to plug in one more tournament. We're just trying, as soon as we get more information, we'll post it up for you guys.
Yeah, we're working on scheduling one with West Side Comics. We're not sure when it'll be, but we'll announce it once it's finalized. So stay tuned to the Facebook page for that. But that's many opportunities for the youth to get ready for the scholarship tournament. It's a big game. And, of course, none of this would be possible if it was not for our lovely patrons. So, of course, supporting the project, best way to do that is just listening to the content, hitting that subscribe button, right? Ringing the bell if you want to get all notifications on Standard Pauper info. Yeah, letting your friends know about Standard Pauper, about the project. But also, if you want to go above and beyond, check out our Patreon page. We are 100% donor funded, pretty much. We all volunteer our time.
Yes.
So if you want to support the project, check out our Patreon page and help us make the magic happen for the youth of Hawaii. All right. So our top 4.
Ooh.
Who came in first place?
So coming in first, we have Jansen playing Dimir midrange. He calls it the No deck. And one of the cards will probably explain why.
It's very, very fitting for a blue-black mage.
Next, we have Jace coming in second with mono white aggro. Skylar coming in
his own brew of mono white aggro.
Yes,
we have not seen a list quite like this before, and we'll take a closer look at it in a minute.
Third, we have Skylar playing trusty old mono white aggro. And last, rounding our top 4 is Christopher. This is his first time making it to the elimination rounds. He is a 3rd grader at August Aarons.
Yeah.
Playing mono green aggro.
He's the future.
Yep.
The future of the game.
In case you don't know, 3rd grade is 8 years old.
8 years old.
Yeah, that's around the time I started playing Magic. I definitely was not top 4ing any tournaments, though. I was just ecstatic when I got a game win at FNM when I was 8 years old. So big ups to Christopher. Okay, so that's our top 4. We're going to hop over here to take a look at their decks. We're going to start here with Christopher. And we spent a lot of time talking about how we think mono green is going to look going into this new format, and this is about what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Right? So you built this deck for him, right?
Yes.
And how were the card choices? Seeing him practice with it and seeing him perform in the tournament, what was your take on the card choices?
I think he played as best as he can with the rider. I think the 2-drop rider.
The Mara Leaf rider.
Mara Leaf rider, yeah. I have not seen him. He hasn't been taking advantage of the ability. He just
it's not a super intuitive ability when to new players especially, right? Like, I don't want my opponents to block my creatures.
He used it more to gain life, if anything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, food is great because it gives you a bunch of options.
Definitely.
Other than that,
Wildwood Tracker was putting in work, the 1 mana 2/2.
Yes, and you could hear him across the room. When I attack, it says that so it's actually cool kind to explain to the players.
Yeah.
Definitely people were afraid of the shaman because that's trample.
the two big tramplers at the top end.
Yeah.
I feel like having the tramplers at the top end of the mono green curve just goes so well with growth cycle.
Oh, definitely.
Right? Because like a mid-game growth cycle where it's like +5 trample over for like 8 damage, that's big game.
And I've seen him do it for 7.
Yeah, he did do it for 7.
Those long games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And of course, Gingerbread Cabin here. Did this what was this ever not worth it from what you saw?
No, it's pretty worth it.
Like it never threw off his curve or anything?
No, not at all. I think even in the times where it's tapped, he didn't have much to do anyway.
Okay.
Rather than, like, just attack with the Frilled Sandwalla or Wild Root. You
Okay.
lose out in 1 or 2 damage, but just having that food for Merrileaf Rider or just for healing, that's pretty good.
Yeah, gaining the life in the race is a big game. All right, cool. So, mono green, this is going to be a very solid choice moving forward. So, awesome job, Christopher. 4th place, we had Skylar playing mono white aggro. Skylar's been playing mono white aggro for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I think he kind of kept the curve kind of similar to what it was last season, right? We see the 12-1 drops, Fairy Guide Mother getting her day in the sun, and then his 2-drop of choice, as we said before, like War Screecher is going to be the auto include for 2-drop, right? But then we weren't sure what 2-drop was going to supplement it, and Skylar chose Daybreak Chaplain, which is the 2-mana 1/3 lifelink. We have seen lifelink, in last season with the 2-mana 2/2 lifelinkers. The lifelink was very relevant. And I guess he decided to keep with that theme, and even though it's not as aggressive of a creature, it still holds the ground, right? It can pick up an axe and go to town, right? So
we've seen
interesting choice.
We've seen instances where like the Parhelion Patrol would just give the mentor counter to Chaplain. So like it's a really good roadblock against the aggro decks.
Yeah, so it blocks early, and then it can get aggressive once you turn the corner with Parhelion Patrol. Okay. 2 Marauders War Axe, I really like that, right? Just giving the deck a little bit longer game in those games where you just have lots of mana lying around. We see the 7 pump spells, the 4 pacifisms, pretty standard. Do you want to talk about your this was Mike's number 1 pick in our top 10 episode, and it was on neither Eric or my radar. So how did Ardenvale Tactician perform?
Wow, I like to say wow because there's more. I forgot who he was challenging, and like when we were practicing, I would the week we practiced prior to the tournament, I would see him like during upkeep. During the opponent's upkeep, he would just activate Dizzying Swoop, just so like he can't get any attacks. The opponent can't get any attacks in. But yeah, this card's seen a lot of work. In fact, the top 4 has like 8 copies, I think. So
okay.
I'm really want to see where this card goes. In this season,
he's not playing any other 3-drops, so like he decided that Tactician was the best thing to do on 3. So, how often did you see him cast it without sending it on the adventure first?
I seen him do it a couple times.
Okay. So just sometimes you just want to have the 2/3 body.
Yes, especially I think against Jansen, because Jansen will rarely have creatures, so like he's kind of like forced to just play. Yeah.
Okay. So flexible card, where we're seeing it perform.
I did see Fairy Guide Mother do a lot of work though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that.
Turn 1 Hero's Hawk, turn 2 to a Fairy Guide Mother. The gift of the Fae.
Yeah.
Yep. So would you say that the adventures are worth it for this deck?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Adventure seems very well suited for an aggressive deck that wants to curve out, but also wants to have the utility options. So, yeah.
Especially with Ardenvale, the Tactician, I think his ability to tap up to 2 creatures is very worth it, especially since standard Pauper is really just a creature heavy format.
Yeah. Every deck plays a ton of creatures. All right. Cool. So congratulations to Skylar coming in 3rd place. And second place, we had Jace with his own brew of mono white. Now, you guys did say that he came up with this deck from scratch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that his dad plays the game, so they probably worked on it together, right? And when you first showed me this deck list, I was amazed at how few creatures that Jace is playing.
And how many lands he's playing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, it worked out for him, right? Like, he made it all the way to the finals of the tournament, but I am certain that this deck could benefit from further tuning. But he's got 4 Law Rune Enforcer, notably 0 Healer's Hawk.
Yeah.
Right? His 2-drop of choice is Fencing Ace, and not playing any other 2-drops. I mean, Fencing Ace is a really powerful one.
Yeah.
Right? And then he's playing, what is this? This is 10 3-drops here. We got Blade Instructor. We got, of course, the Tactician, and then 4 10th District Veterans. It's a 3 mana, 2/3 Vigilance. Whenever it attacks, untap another target creature you control. So this does have a little bit of synergy with Law Rune Enforcer, right? Like, tap your dude, and then attack with 10th District Veteran, and then untap my Law Rune Enforcer. So that's pretty good. But I am a little concerned about this deck's ability to get on the board. Right? Like, he is playing 7 removal spells, or what is this? 6 removal spells, only 3 pacifism. So 6 removal spells. He is playing God's Willing to protect his high impact creatures. And then the 4 pump spells with Arrester's Zeal and Marauder's Axe to make them all bigger. But playing only, what is this, 18 creatures in an aggro deck?
It's more like a mid-range, kind of, somewhat.
Yeah, I guess it'd be hard to call this an aggro deck. It is, yeah. I think that's an appropriate label for it. But I think, like, being so choked on 3s, if you wanted to play a mid-range plan, I would consider maybe adding a couple 4 mana plays, like Parhelion Patrol would fit really well with a mid-range plan. It also plays really nicely with Blade Instructor, right, where they can start putting mentor counters on each other. So, like, I think that the general strategy that Jace was going for, where it was like play Fencing Ace and then protect it and like make it big, right? Like give it flying, put an axe on it, mentor onto it, right? You know, punch your way through with Ardenvale Tactician and Law Rune Enforcer. I think that game plan might be worth exploring, but I would encourage him to maybe tweak around with the numbers a little bit. I would love to see either a lower curve or a slightly higher curve. But either way, even if he brings his curve up to 4, I think 25 lands is a lot.
Especially,
I'm very curious how often he felt like he was getting mana flooded, because there's not a ton of mana sinks in the deck, right? There's Marauder's Axe and Law Rune Enforcer, I guess. But Eric, you were saying
of the games he did lose, it was usually just him drawing planes after planes after planes.
Okay. Yeah, so I would say cut at least 2, maybe as many as 3 or 4 lands. Try to vary the curve up a little bit. Maybe Healer's Hawk is definitely a recommendation, or Parhelion Patrol if you want to go a little bit bigger, or both.
Yeah. Especially with white aggro, you want to be as proactive as possible. You want to have a threat after threat after threat after threat.
Yeah. And if you are trying to like set up this mid-game plan where you like take over with your 3 drops, right? Because he is playing the 6 removal spells to kind of slow the early game down.
And the God's Willing to protect the Fencing Ace.
Yeah. So I think like if you're wanting to play high impact creatures that you're wanting to like build a game plan around and protect, then Parhelion Patrol would definitely be a good fit. But congratulations to Jace. Pretty standard sideboard here. We'll see if he sticks with this build or make some tweaks before the next tournament.
It's only the beginning. You have lots of time to improve it.
Indeed. All right, and our champion here, Jansen, playing blue-black mid-range. So we all kind of thought that this deck was for sure going to be good after rotation, but we're never quite sure like what it's going to look like. And so what Jansen decided to do with like a bunch of 3-ofs and a bunch of 2-ofs, I think that it's a good I don't want to say solution, but I think it's a good first step in the process of trying to figure out what this mid-range deck is trying to look like. So like the core of it survived with the attrition creatures. Whoops. The attrition creatures of 4 Burglar Rat and then some number of Cloudkin Seer on Audacious Leaf, backed up by Soul Salvage. And then he's got Boneclad Necromancer and the single Humongulus trying to... it's doing its best impression of Coldwater Snapper. But, you know, solid set of creatures and then just a ton of removal, right? He's got 2 Devious Cover-Ups, 2 Didn't Say Please, best card name.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why you called it No.
Yeah. Nope. You didn't say please. And then, of course, the smattering of removal: 4 Disfigure, 4 Sorin's Thirst, 3 Sorin's Thirst, 3 Reeve Soul, and then 3 Murders, and then the Lockets to bridge him to the late game. Mm-hmm. So, like, a little bit of card advantage, a ton of removal, good creatures, a little bit of counter spells, a little bit of card draw, right?
Yeah.
Mid-range deck after my own heart. It blows my mind that he's not playing 4 Cloudkin Seer.
I don't know.
Like, it just straight up blows my mind. That card is so good.
Looking at this, I'm guessing he cut the 1 for Humongulus, maybe?
Maybe? I don't know. I feel like if you cut any other card, I would rather have Cloudkin Seer number 4 over any card. Even if you, like, accidentally cut a land.
Oh, sure.
No, maybe. You probably still want 24 lands in this deck. But almost any other card, I would rather have a Cloudkin Seer over.
I could see dropping the Humongulus for Cloudkin Seer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, Humongulus is at its best against, like, other decks full of removal.
Mm-hmm.
But, so is Cloudkin Seer.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, you use your removal spell on my creature that already drew me a card. So...
I mean, the Soul Salvage does kind of give him a 4th, 5th copy.
Right, but wouldn't it be great if Soul Salvage gave him a 5th and 6th copy instead? Yeah, so pretty solid sideboard. He can make his curve lower if he wants to. He can bring in more counter magic. He's got the 2nd hexproof creature in here, and then Ill-Gotten Inheritance is a hard to answer threat. So yeah, I'm liking the look of this, and Jansen did bring his A game and crushed Mr. Ulip in the end boss match. Well, I have no idea how close the matchup was. I just heard that he won, and so I'm rubbing a little salt in the wound here.
I hope so.
So what was it, a close match when
Mr.
Ulip's end boss deck is Red Black Knights.
Game 2 and 3, I think he just... Like, I beat him for Game 1. Game 2, Game 3, I just got demolished because I think his hand was nothing but removal. Mm-hmm. So, even then, like, when I would try to... So, anytime I tried to have a combat check, he would just respond immediately. So, like, I remember attacking with the Weaselback Red Cap.
Yeah.
And attempt to Rimrock Knight, the adventure ability. He would just straight up remove. So that's a straight up 3 for 1.
Lose the creature too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a straight up 3 for 1. Which
he's done that multiple times.
Yeah, it's a 2 for 1. I guess it's sort of a 3 for 1 because you
lose out on the creature.
Well, yeah. Well, you lose out on the pump spell and you lose out on the creature.
And that.
Yeah. So why did you choose to play Lash of Thorns?
I figured it'd be a nice pump spell and because of Death Touch, so it's like a somewhat removal.
Well, with the amount of power it's getting, it would be a removal spell.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know. I would have considered Barge In.
Well, that's the one that gets plus 2.
It gives +2/+2 and trample.
And non-humans.
Because, like, yeah, I get you have one human, 2 humans. No, this is a human too.
3.
But I mean, like, giving your Raging Redcap trample, I think is really good. I'd rather give it trample than Death Touch, in most cases.
That's true.
Because I just like my combat tricks to be able to, like, save my creature in combat, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm using my combat trick to lose my creature and my combat trick to trade with their creature, then you're just losing cards.
That's true.
I'm not a big fan of this card. And I already gave Mike my spiel on tribal decks, but I'll say it again here for the video. If you're going to be playing a tribal deck and like limiting the number of creatures that you can play, you need to ask yourself like, what are my payoffs for limiting the number of cards that I have choices to play, right? Because like he's only playing knights and then the barrel witches, which is a knight payoff, right? But if you're gonna restrict yourself to only playing knights, you need to ask yourself, what is the payoff of me putting this restriction, right? Like, sure, it's cool to like, oh, I have my knight deck and I get to play all these knights and it's very flavorful, but in terms of like competitive deck building, you need to ask yourself, what is going to be the payoff for restricting my choices? And Smitten Swordmaster is a pretty good one, right? Of course, it is a 1 black, 1 colorless, 2/1 lifelink that can go on an adventure first. It's a human knight. And the adventure says you gain X life, each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of knights you control. So if you have a ton of knights in play, this guy just domes them for a whole bunch. If you don't have a ton of knights in play, then this guy is a 2-mana, 2/1 lifelink, which is passable. So like this is a decent knight payoff, and then the other knight payoff is Barrel Witches, a 5-mana 3/4, where you just return a knight from your graveyard to your hand. So it's like a kind of bigger Gravedigger.
Yeah.
So, those are the two payoffs. Ogre Errant is kind of a payoff. A 4-mana 3/4, when it attacks, you can give another Knight Menace until end of turn. But, like, the quality of these payoffs is not high enough for me to be super excited about, like, only playing Knights. I think that the other potential Knight payoff of, where is it? Shining Armor? There we go. Shining Armor is 1 white, 1 colorless artifact equipment with flash, so you can play it as an instant. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to target knight you control, so there's your knight payoff. And equip creature gets +2/+0, or excuse me, +0/+2, and has vigilance, and then the equip cost is 3. So, +0/+2 is not going to win any combats, but it is going to, it'll help you turn an even trade into an advantage trade for you. And just giving your creature +0/+2 and vigilance allows you to have a pretty big board presence. And getting to do that early because you get the free equip on the first one, I think that alongside Smitten Swordmaster might be like enough of a knight payoff. But like, the payoffs that you have right now, you're playing like Rimrock Knight is like an okay knight. I'm not super excited about playing this. Lost Legion is like, I don't know, like you're really just playing it because it's a knight. I don't think that this is a particularly good Magic card. And then Lochthwain Paladin, if you Adamant this guy, then he's pretty good. But like you are giving up some of your creature quality to play this tribe, and so you want to make sure it's made up for by your payoff cards. And usually at Common, there's not very many payoff cards, but I think the two best ones that we have at Common are Shining Armor and Swordmaster. So, something to keep in mind. Well, maybe the Knights deck will morph into Black-White. Do you have any thoughts on the Knights deck, Eric?
Nothing more than what you said, but...
Okay. Yeah, so... I'm sorry if I came off as harsh, Mike, but
okay.
that's my 2 cents.
Well, I mean, I know I wanted to play Knights as the end boss deck, and I wanted to feature a lot of the Throne of Eldraine cards.
Yeah, well, mission accomplished. I think this deck is all Throne of Eldraine cards except for Shock.
Yeah.
So you did good.
It's somewhat constructed limited.
But Jansen did beat Mr. Ulip in the end boss match, winning himself a fistful of extra packs. Yeah. Did you let him roll the D10 or the D12?
D12.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is his second tournament finish in a row.
This is the second one he won in a row?
Yeah, the last one he won, West Side.
That's right, yeah. Jansen's on a tear. So, I mean, when Skylar... No, it was JP who said, oh, Jansen didn't come to this tournament. I might win now. Right? He was serious. Jansen's been putting in the reps, right? Yeah. And it's been paying off, so...
I think, going into this, he rarely got practice with this deck because a lot of the cards, he didn't really, there wasn't any, there wasn't drastic changes. I mean, there was drastic changes, but I think his game plan was still the same.
Well, from the best advice I can give anybody who wants to have a real shot at taking down the scholarship tournament is practice, right? Like, my best tournament finish when I was in high school at junior nationals, I was literally playing Magic like 8 hours a day all summer long. And then it paid off with, I won $5,000 in that nationals tournament. So if you want to have the best shot at winning, find some friends that enjoy playing Magic, and then practice. That's the best advice I can give you. So and anything else before we wrap up here, gentlemen?
How do you guys feel about the metagame so far?
Metagame?
Because it feels pretty powerful. I think that because we lost so many cards from the rotation, the metagame would be a little weaker, but this seems almost at the same level as where we were last time.
Yeah, I think that, like, the cards that we lost, like, 75% of them had adequate replacements from the new set. Yeah. So, like, almost all of the archetypes that existed before, besides the tribal ones, that they still exist, maybe just a little bit weaker, but not terribly weaker. Like, I have to play my second best 3-drop now instead of, like, my absolute best 3-drop.
There was no mono red, too, in this tournament.
Yeah, well, mono red's been getting beat up in regular standard, too, so... But, yeah, maybe mono red is going to have a niche. I don't know, like, mono red was kind of struggling in last season as well.
I mean, it struggles now because you just have everything that makes food.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you have that healer of the glade that just gains life.
It's very easy to sideboard against mono red, that's true. Yeah. But, I like the mid-range deck. Mono white is always solid. Mono green is always solid. I don't know what other people played at the tournament.
I know there's a blue-white. It seemed like a blue-white control deck, but then like...
Oh, that's spicy.
Yeah. That's right.
I gotta look at what that looks... I gotta see what that deck list looks like. One person was playing Boros Knights.
Okay.
What else? And then we had like two...
Were they playing Shining Armor?
Yeah, they were playing...
Yeah.
Yes!
Man, just rub it in, huh?
You know what? I'm gonna build Black-White Knights in my next emboss. Mark my words.
I think that Black-White Knights is the best build of Knights, but that's just my first impression.
There were the two sisters, right?
There were two sisters that kind of played...
Green and red,
and
monsters,
and blue-black, I think.
Yeah.
And I was shocked because the one that played blue-black, I thought she would have made the elimination rounds, but then when we saw it, everybody was like who made top 4, because then I thought, like, at first I thought Jansen was gonna be in the bubble and that one person was gonna make it. When we saw it, like, okay, Jansen coming into the top 4, he was already 4th. So like, I was like, oh man, that'll be dope if on that one person.
So did she have the same match points as him? And it was tiebreakers, or was it?
I think it was based off of the tiebreakers.
Oh wow, that is really close. How many total people were there?
9.
Okay, yeah, that's why there was a bubble.
There was 7, but 2 came in late.
Okay.
I mean, whoever Skylar played, because Skylar was like the best, because
Skylar went undefeated.
Skylar went undefeated.
Right?
Yeah. So.
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, to answer your question, I think that the metagame is pretty similar to what it was before.
There's a lot of good replacements.
Yeah. I think there's time to grow.
I think the archetypes themselves are going to persist, but the way that they're going to look is going to shift slightly. So, even though it was a big rotation, it's going to be gradual shifts instead of like big drastic ones.
Right.
At least that's what it looks like currently. But maybe there's some sleeper deck out there that's just going to wreck everybody that nobody has thought about yet.
Can't hear it, but I'm just, my little eyebrows.
Eric's got something brewing. Maybe. Okay. Well, that is it for us today. Thanks for stopping by. We hope to see you at our next couple tournaments. Once again, that is this coming Saturday at Minikyu in Mililani, and then November 9th, which is another Saturday, over at the Planet. And then we'll probably have one more in November.
Yes.
And we'll get that on the schedule as soon as possible. So, Thanks for stopping by, and we will catch you next time.
Later.
See ya.